Hello, bee people. It's Jason from Bohemia Apiary, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the Apimaye, and we're going to talk about primarily the pollen trap, or the integrated pollen trap that sits within these boxes or these hive bodies. It's a really neat tool that Apimaye includes with this size or this style of Apimaye. Stay tuned. You're going to want to see how this one works out. Okay, so we've done a test through the winter here at the eastern shore of Maryland on this hive cart, and we got a couple nukes that we're getting ready to sell that were overwintered. We had about, 18 colonies on this cart, and we had very little losses. And you can see these are all your Apimaye style hive bodies. These are the polymer hive bodies that we put together here on a prior video. I'll put a link in the description below. But these are the ones that we put together, installed a very small nuke in the, I guess it would have been late spring here on the eastern shore of Maryland. And they thrived through the winter. We had great survival rates through the winter on these polymer hives. The R value on them are amazing. They're just very easy to work with, and they're just great overall colonies. One thing we're going to talk about specifically on this video, not necessarily the survival rate or any other component, but we're going to talk a little bit about pollen. Why are we going to talk about pollen? Well, let's take a look. Okay, so it's that time of year when the bees are very active, specifically on our overwintered colonies. They're out foraging for resources. The maples back there have popped a while back. There's a lot of other forage out here in and around our apiary. The dandelions are out, and a lot of other things to be able to bring in that pollen. So we're going to take this colonies here, and we're going to switch a few of them over to collect some pollen, because we do sell pollen in a very limited amount. But you can see when a bee goes out and forages, they pick up these pollen baskets on the back of their legs. You can see they bring them inside the hive, and that's the protein that's fed to the baby bees. They actually mix it with nectar and make something called beebread. And we did a prior video on what beebread is. We'll put a link in the description below on that as well. But beebread is the main food source for the baby bees, or the brood in the colony. And today, these girls have been bringing a lot of pollen back in, coming in every little few seconds with another bit on their legs here. And so we're going to take a couple of these colonies, the ones that are stronger, look like they're bringing in a lot of pollen, and we're going to put in a pollen trap that's integrated right here on the Apimaye units. You can see on the back side, these units have a tray and then a small red insert. Now that red insert was put in during the winter time when we didn't have the pollen trap in. It's just a plug so that they don't create another entrance. But we're going to take that out, and we're going to show you how we're going to put in the pollen collecting trays for a couple days so that we can get a little bit of pollen. Okay, you can see we closed the front of this entrance on this one just to give everybody a sense as to, look at all the pollen just waiting to go into this colony. Look at all the legs. They're covered in yellow, probably dandelion and several other little bits of pollen. Now this is a overwintered nucleus that we had split out already, made a split out of it, and this is the remaining hive. So we're leaving this behind for probably a spring nuke, as this will become, but we're going to let them build back up. And little pesky small hive beetle trying to get in there, and I just stopped them. There you go. Well, we're going to go ahead and get the tools we need to set these up to collect pollen. Okay, so in the back of the Apimaye hives, they have a tray, and this is a tray for all the scraps. They push sometimes small hive beetles down in there. There are some bits of pollen here and there when they have a lot of pollen that's overflowing. This would I want to get in there and try to collect some of it. But I'm going to clean that tray out, and we'll put that back in We're going to use the pollen insert, and I'm going to take out this other red insert as well. This red insert comes out, see? It's just a plug to allow keep the bees from creating another entrance. I'll show you what goes in. Okay, so we've taken these insert trays, which are vented. You can see here it's like a screen tray or a vented tray, and they're much smaller than the regular tray, and they fit right in nice, and it sits above so that small hive beetles can't nest in there and things like that. They'll get dropped and go below. It's going to be completely closed off just to the colony, and you'll see how that works in a second when we put the next piece in. So this will just return back to the bottom of the tray. We have our insert tray, and this is where the bees will come through. They'll actually come through the front entrance, and then we'll squeeze through these little holes, and when they do, the size of the bee with 2 pollen nodules or pollen bags will not fit through this hole, but one will with the bee. So you want to be very cautious when you're doing pollen collection with bees, that you ensure that they don't you don't collect too much pollen. They need pollen as well, so they're going to actually keep one of them, and we're going to keep one. So one for them, one for us. Now that's in place. Make sure that's pressed in there tight. The drawer's in tight. We're going to go and open the front entrance and let these girls in so they can start to work and drop that pollen off.
24 hours later.
Okay, so it's been 24 hours, and we're going to check to see how much pollen in 24 hours these Apimaye hives can gather here on the eastern shore of Maryland. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's see how much pollen they pulled in 24 hours. Well, there you go. So that is about 2 ounces of pollen. And now this pollen is raw and moist, which means it can squish. And it's very, very good for you from a health perspective. We do dry our pollen because it keeps longer on the shelf. This pollen right here, if we put it in a bottle or we put it somewhere in a package, it would only last for, a little while, maybe a week or two or maybe a month or two before it just really starts to either ferment, if there's any moisture in it, because there is a lot of moisture in it. So we're going to go ahead and dry this. We'll take this out tomorrow. Usually 2 days is how long we'll keep these trays in. We'll take our trays out and we'll come back and replace them and let them continue to collect some pollen here in these pollen traps. Well, there you have it, folks. Another great test with another great product here on the eastern shore of Maryland. The Apimaye colonies, or the Apimaye equipment, by far, in my opinion, is the gold standard for hive equipment. There is a lot of options out there for you to keep bees, and this is actually probably not the most economical one, or really it is when you look at all the benefits. But if you're looking for cheap equipment, there's lots of equipment out there. This is definitely not cheap equipment. It will help your bees survive through winter. With the R value on it, it'll help your bees do lots of things, grow strong. It has a pollen trap integrated in these 10 framers. It has feeders integrated in the top of all of the Apimaye equipment. So I'd encourage you to check out the Apimaye equipment. We definitely highly endorse it here on the eastern shore of Maryland. We were not paid to say that. We tested these. We actually purchased every single one of these hives behind us and tested them all the way through spring in through the winter. And we're getting ready to put honey supers on many of them because they have a lot of good bee volume in them, and they're ready here on the eastern shore of Maryland. Those colonies need some more space. So we're going to put honey supers on them. We'll do that in another video. So stay tuned. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down there. Like, share, comment if you have an Apimaye in your apiary, and let us know how you like it, because we really are fond of them here on the eastern shore of Maryland, where for us, beekeeping is definitely more than a hobby. It's sort of an obsession. Thanks for watching, everyone.